usually have this on my screen for me, and I'm probably blind here tonight, but where is it? Jennifer?
Jennifer, Kathy needs,
It's not
Kelly
on
needs
the
help.
Kelly Ray's folder, I don't
Is
see
it
it
under?
on here.
Yeah, I'm
So
not
you
seeing
go
it.
under this PC.
Oh, okay.
So we just didn't put it in.
Sure.
All right, good evening and welcome to the council meeting of January 27th, 2020. We are using Facebook Live streaming on Facebook Live. There is no live interaction, but you may leave comments. The most up-to-date meeting package is on the Town of Kentville website. This meeting is called to order. Have all of the councillors received and reviewed their meeting packages? Does any member of council have information pertaining to a matter before this council which has not been publicly circulated? I will remind members of council that we are in decision-making mode and we should be mindful of our decision-making wheel. We have committed to making balanced and respectful decisions and adhering to our code of conduct. We will be voting by electronic ballot on all matters except administrative. Are there any conflict of interest issues we should be aware of before this meeting commences? CO Rice, could you please take the roll call?
Yes, Your Worship, everyone's present except we have regrets from Councillor Andrews.
Okay. Thank you. You have before you the proposed agenda. Are there any additions or deletions? If I could have a motion. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. The minutes of the November 25th, 2019 council meeting have been distributed. Are there any errors or omissions to the minutes? If no, the minutes are approved as distributed. If yes, the recording secretary will annotate the minutes in red and the annotated minutes will be added to the electronic meeting file as approved. Hearing none, moving on. You also have before you the minutes of the December 9th special council meeting. Are there any errors or omissions in those minutes? Hearing none, they are approved as distributed. Moving on to number 4, our unfinished business. We have a request for decision from Councillor Savage with regards to physician retention program. The town received a letter at the December 9th, 2019 Council Advisory Committee meeting under correspondence item 7B. It was discussed and determined that the town did not have staff available to support the initiative, which was communicated to the group through the CAO. And Councillor Savage, you have brought before us a request for decision. If you could speak to that, please.
Thank you, Worship. So I actually asked for this to be added to the agenda last week, and I'm not sure if everybody received the material. And the report is actually called Medical Resident Retention Program for the Annapolis Valley. Just wondering if the rest of council received a copy of the report.
Are you referencing the letter on November 25th?
No, it's the actual report that was attached to the request for decision.
No.
Okay, so I'll just speak a little bit about it if I could. So the Medical Retention Resident Program for the Annapolis Valley is something that a number of folks have come up with. It's the Deputy Mayor from the County of Kings and from the town of Wolfville. Keith Irving and his executive assistant is on it as well. There's some other folks from the Wren and that are involved with this committee as well, and I became involved with it when I was held the position of Deputy Mayor for the town. So essentially what that was, it was a coming together of folks to look at where we were in terms of doctor shortage, and also in terms of residents that remained in the Annapolis Valley when they came here to do their residency. The letter that came from MLA Keith Irving was essentially really didn't capture the spirit of the committee and what it's trying to do. Because as Her Worship mentions, a lot of it was around seeing what we could offer in terms of staff, because as it notes and I'm sorry that you don't have the material, but essentially the object of the proposal is to establish Annapolis Valley as a welcoming community for medical residents, and so that we can attract more and retain and celebrate new physicians. So this program actually is being supported right now by the County of Kings, by the Town of Wolfville, by the Town of Berwick, the Wren, AVCC, and there's 3 Rotary clubs that have come on side now, and they're all offering monetary support. So I think initially when the letter came out from Keith Irving, it talked more around about seeing if we could offer some sort of staff for the position, because they are looking at a 1-year term position. And the folks from the municipality and other not-for-profit groups, et cetera, could contribute something towards this. There are some, they have applied for a grant through the province. It has not been responded to yet, hoping that it will be soon. But those monies cannot be used to pay somebody. They can't be used for wages. They can only be used for attraction items and things like that, that this regional coordinator that would be working with the recruitment coordinator in the Western Zone could actually, if you're taking somebody out to dinner, if you're taking them around and showing them parts of the community, similar to what Mayor Snow does now when there is a potential doctor coming to visit the area. So that's, I'm just going to read a little bit, if I could, from here. And the spirit of the role and the spirit of this committee is certainly around the numbers, but more around how can we work with the recruitment officer that we have in the Western Zone now to keep more of our doctors here and to attract more of the doctors. So I'll just read a little bit from here. Well, there are many ways to look at various numbers. The focus that the group has really been on is the current situation, which has resulted in numerous calls to folks that like MLAs and also counselors over the past 2 to 3 years. There are some constituents that are in desperate need for a family doctor. And overall, things have been coming down in the province overall in the recent months, but the success is primarily in HRM. In fact, the Western Zone remains the area with the biggest challenge. And in the past 2 years, January 2018 to December 2019, the Western Zone has increased from 11,680 to 21,159. The Health Authority monthly report didn't break the numbers out for each community catchment area until October 2019, and in the past 14 months, the Kings County numbers have been flat at 4,271 to 4,278. While we know of 2 to 3 new doctors arriving in the coming year, we continue to receive calls about upcoming retirements, so we don't think that the challenge has been met yet. So we believe a concerted effort is needed to ensure we put our best efforts forward to both attract new doctors and retain our residents. Provinces throughout Canada are competing for doctors. In fact, many countries, including the US, are looking for doctors. And while Nova Scotia is the 4th best province in terms of access to primary health care, there are 6 other provinces in greater need and competing just as hard as we are for them to practice in their communities. We believe it's a worthwhile effort for our communities to participate in this, and as other communities around the province are accessing funds from the province, their chambers, their service clubs, so that they can show off how great a place they have to practice, live, and raise a family. So, so essentially the ask, although it was more outlined in the letter. It was for staff. The ask would be for the town of Kentville to contribute somewhere in the area of $3,000 to $5,000 to assist with the costs associated with this position. Thank you.
Are you making that motion?
Yes, I am making the motion. Yes, I'm making the motion. Sorry, I sound a bit disjointed because I had hoped that this would have, everybody would have had an opportunity to read it.
It was in their packages.
It was in the
It
packages.
was in the council packages.
Okay.
The only copy that I received had notes in it.
It's in Sandra's. Is it in yours?
No, I didn't have any of this in my package. My package was printed.
Did you take it out today?
I took out the report with the handwritten notes in it.
Just today.
Yes.
So they had it since last week. It just came out today.
That's the one there.
Yeah, it just came out today, out of the packages, but it was up on the council's
Okay.
Site.
So that gives you, it's sort of the Coles Note version, but reviewing that does help, would probably help you in making a decision and or supporting my motion. So I'm not sure if everybody has enough information now to make a decision, or?
Well, we have a motion on the floor to approve funding of the residency retention program in the amount of $3,000 to $5,000. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Thank you. So it has been moved and seconded that council approve the funding of the residency retention program in the amount of $3,000 to $5,000. Discussion, Councillor or Deputy Mayor.
Thank you,
Please.
Worship. If I could ask Councillor Savage, what are the amounts that the other towns in the RAN are putting in?
I believe the town of Wolfville is 4,000. I believe the county of Kings, I want to say somewhere between 8,000 to 9,000. Berwick is in for 4,000. Rotary clubs, I know Kentville is in for 2,500. Mud Creek and New Minas, I'm not sure what they're in for. And the Wren, I think probably what theirs is in kind. They would be helping with videos and things like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Bolland.
Thank you, Worship. My question was echoed here, but I'm certainly in support of supporting healthcare and to get more physicians in our community. I expect our contribution will be equal or close to or maybe exceeding Wolfville's based on population. What's the timeline to implement this? Is there a timeline they want to start this?
Now,
Now?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. We would be the last ones that would be coming in. Yeah. Thank you.
Before we proceed, I've just been cued that we should have the time period on the motion, so it'd be supporting funding of a residency retention program for 1 year. Is that acceptable?
Yes, 1 year.
And to our seconder, that's acceptable as an amendment? Thank you.
Your Worship,
Certainly.
if I might, while you're addressing that, you should also clarify the amount. You should also clarify the amount of the
Okay.
contribution. Right now, it's a range.
Yes.
Okay, I will, if I could amend the
Certainly.
motion to be 4,000. Go in the middle.
You're good with that amendment? So that's 2 amendments to that motion. All right, continuing discussion. Councillor Maxwell?
Just a question to Councillor Savage. We already have a recruitment coordinator. What would this regional coordinator do? Like, what additional benefit would a regional coordinator be to an already recruitment coordinator?
So the recruitment coordinator, sorry, that we have in the Western Zone, obviously that covers off a really, really large community. I believe it goes, Mayor Snow, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it goes from Yarmouth right through to and around Bridgewater.
Yes.
Right, so it's a large zone. So oftentimes when Karma, that's Tchaikovsky, she does the role, when she finds out that say a doctor is arriving or coming in to look, oftentimes they don't have a lot of lead time, so that trying to get them set up with some of the other folks in the community, it often doesn't happen. I know that it typically happens here because Mayor Snow makes herself available, but sometimes it's the more of the coordinating it, and also not just coordinating folks that are coming, but also planning events to appreciate the doctors, getting them more integrated with their families into the communities so that they feel wanted here and so that they feel like they want to stay here. So when Karma is doing what she does, it's more just coordinating them to see somebody. But this person would work directly with the coordinator so that it can be expanded more and plan more for them to do and see in the hopes that they will stay. That's the spirit of the position.
And don't we already have that? Like, we attend celebrations of doctors coming into the area, and that's already being done, so I'm kind of wondering.
That's one person, though, is doing that, essentially. So, presumably.
Is that the recruitment coordinator?
No.
Who is that, the person that's doing that?
I believe the event this Friday night is planned through Marissa Davidson
In town of Kentville.
and the town of Campbell.
Town of So we would be providing a regional coordinator for other communities. Is that right? Since it's already being done here, this would be for other areas?
So it would be, it's for the valley in its entirety, yeah, absolutely. The work, and I can't speak to a lot of the work that Marissa Davidson does here, but she's a private citizen that has a clinic here, and that is promoting this particular area for sure. The idea would be for this regional coordinator to work with folks like her as well. The more people that are involved in this, whether it's folks at the chamber or at the Wren, Rotary clubs, the idea would be to bring as many people as they can into this fold so that we maintain and continue to recruit doctors.
And what's the province? The province is not putting anything in? Is that the?
No. So the province, a grant has been requested, and I know that it's been processed. I do not know when it's coming through. That's what I've been told.
Is it a guarantee that it's coming through?
Yes.
So, because I look at this kind of like a download from the province to the municipalities in healthcare, because it's not really our responsibility to be looking after healthcare, although healthcare is very important to me. But I also don't like the fact that the province is downloading that responsibility onto municipalities. I've seen that downloading happen in education, and I don't like to see it happening here as well. Anyway, okay, thank you.
So I have seen the report, and or I guess it's their request for funding from the government, and I'm not sure that when it was written that they truly had a grasp on our medical residents that we have here. We have 6 a year. They're here on a two-year cycle. And when the medical resident program started in the Annapolis Valley, it was actually the first one for family docs out of Dalhousie, and the auxiliary in Annapolis Royal was probably one of the biggest supporters of this program. And some of the women on that auxiliary actually had these doctor residents living in their homes, because 2 residents go to Annapolis Royal, 2 go to Berwick, and the other 2 are here in Kentville. And so there was always a sense of being home. And I was talking to Karma Tchaikovsky last week, and she expressed to me that 26 out of the last 28 residents that have gone through the Annapolis Valley program have remained in Nova Scotia. Now, I realize that they have not all remained in the Annapolis Valley. But Dr. Mike Wadden, when questioned on this, he was the project coordinator for many years. He said that the young folks who leave the Annapolis Valley are going to be where their families are. They're not leaving because they didn't like the Annapolis Valley. And he says in his statement that there's no amount of incentive that would keep them here in the valley, that they are going because they're going to be with family. And NSHA no longer dictates where they have to go. So that was part of the problem in the beginning with the residency program, is that they were dictated as to where they had to go. Now what happens is the list comes out with the vacancies, and they are free to choose where they wish to go. And that's the same for all doctor vacancies in Nova Scotia now, is that any doctor can select where they wish to go. And so when we're seeing these doctors who are being recruited, and there's now 2 recruiters. So Karma's area goes from here down to the Digby area. And so she has a much smaller and a much more manageable area. And the doctors who want to come here are coming here. Right now in Nova Scotia, we actually have 1 family doctor for every 811 people. The problem is the distribution, of course, and yes, there are people, or there are doctors who are retiring, and Middleton is in a crunch right now because they've just lost 3 long-time 30-year doctors. So there is issues, but we do not have a problem recruiting doctors to this area. My other concern is that this program that's been put together does not have a well fleshed out plan of how this person is going to be employed, who they're going to be working for, and what they're going to do. All it says is a project coordinator at 20 hours times 15 hours times 33 weeks at a cost of $9,900. Well, for me, that's not enough information about how the money of our taxpayers is going to be used to push this forward. A person working 1 day a week can really not make a grand contribution to the recruiting or the recruitment efforts of the doctors. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. My question is a budget question for Kelly. We're staring down the face of the deficit. This wasn't planned in our budget. Where's the money going to come from? If the council decides to pass it.
Probably have to come out of operational reserves. I mean, I believe it's fine, but it won't be in this budget.
Okay.
Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Your Worship. One of the excerpts out of the document I have here, I'll just read it. It's just 1 paragraph. We believe in government for the people, by the people. Just as it takes a village to raise a child, the Annapolis Valley Collaborative believes that it takes an entire community to ensure access to essential health care. We recognize the current efforts of government and its many departments devoting resources to solving the issue around physician shortages. We also recognize the importance of community engagement, and we wish to change the narrative in our region. So again, when I say it doesn't, there is the numbers piece to it, and there's so many different ways that one can look at that, but it's more about collaborating with our partners and making the folks that come here feel welcome and want to stay here, so that they choose the Annapolis Valley for their home and to live and serve here as doctors. Thank you.
Councillor Pulsifer.
Thank you. I believe Councillor Savage kind of hit the nail on the head with the word collaborative, whereas we have heard that all of the surrounding municipalities and Rotary clubs and REN are part of this and seem to be wanting to be involved. I feel that the town of Kentville should also join them. I think we would be remiss in not being part of that group that are working towards a collaborative solution to the doctor shortages. And so That's my opinion.
All right, thank you. Is there any further discussion? Are you ready for the question? The question is on adoption of the motion to approve funding of the Residency Retention Program in the amount of $4,000 for a 1-year period. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. And the motion is a tie, therefore the motion fails. Thank you. All right, we're moving on to our recommendations and reports. Recommendations arising from the CAC meeting will be presented and moved by Councillor Maxwell.
Okay, I'll bring it up on my screen here. Okay. So, Council Advisory Committee recommendation to Council concerning the revision of Policy Statement G57, Committees of Council. At the December 9th, 2019 meeting of Council Advisory Committee, Mayor Snow presented the report on the proposed changes to the Committees of Council policy, which are primarily administrative updates. And further, at the January 13th, 2020 meeting of the Council Advisory Committee, CAO Rice outlined the existing appointments of councillors to internal and community committees. During this meeting, Council recommended that the CAO Evaluation Committee include all members of Council, and this be reflected in the policy statement G57, Committees of Council. Council Advisory Committee recommended, Council Advisory Committee recommends that policy statement G57, Committees of Council be amended with the proposed changes as attached. I so move.
Seconder? Second. Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that the Council approve the amendment of Policy Statement G57, Committees of Council with the proposed changes as attached. Discussion? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship. I read this last week and I found it very confusing for the fact that the first 9 pages, is that the changes, and then the second one is the completed?
The second one is the final.
The second one is the final one. So we're not having an HR committee?
No, that's
now
correct.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? All right. The question is on adoption of the motion to approve the amendment of Policy Statement G57, Committees of Council with the proposed changes as per attached. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. And the motion is carried. Thank you.
Okay, second, Council Advisory Committee recommendation to Council concerning the Kemptville Business Community Special Projects request. At the January 13th, 2020 meeting of Council Advisory Committee, Mayor Snow reviewed the presentation by the Kemptville Business Community and their request for special project funding. The group is looking for a commitment for the $25,000 to be secured in the 2020-2021 Town of Kentville budget. Council Advisory Committee recommended that Council approve the 2020-2021 special projects funding of $25,000 to be used as specified in the 2020 action plan within the 2020-2021 fiscal year for their new communication strategies. I so move.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that council approve the 2020-2021 special project funding of $25,000 to be used as specified in the 2020 action plan within the 2020-2021 fiscal year for their new communication strategy. Discussion? If I might recommend a couple of amendments to this motion is to add KBC in front of the 2021 special project, and instead of there, use the term the. Because if you just look at the motion, you don't know who the funding belongs to.
Well, it says re.
Pardon?
Well, it says re.
No, yes, but when you look at it, when you look at our minutes, it's just to clarify the motion, just to put KBC in front of the special projects. So the council approved the 2020-2021 KBC special projects funding. Is that
Yeah, that's fine with me.
satisfactory?
Yeah.
Satisfactory? And instead of there, the, because
Yeah.
once they've been named, we don't need to say there.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that is satisfactory, those two amendments?
Satisfactory to me.
All right. Is there any further discussion? So are you ready for the question? The question is on adoption of the motion to approve the KBC 2020-2021 special project funding of $25,000 to be used as specified in the 2020 action plan within the 2020-2021 fiscal year for the new communication strategy. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. And the motion is carried. Thank you. All right, we're moving on to our reports, and the reports will be added to the public record under a single motion at the end of the presentations. And we'll start with Councillor Maxwell. Did you have something?
Question, are both of these on, like both sides? Just a little tune to it.
Is it there now?
Councillor Ballin, please.
All right, thank you, Worship. Last council meeting attended November 25th last year. Date of last council advisory committee meeting attended December 9th last year and January 13th, 2020. No governance sessions held. Busy month of Valley Waste, December 18th, January 9th, and 15th, meetings at Valley Waste. Town of Kentville attendance synopsis. November 27th, we had a really nice meet and greet here with MP Cody Bloy, talking about some mutual projects we can work on and where we are at in the town and some federal wish lists that we passed on to him. Congrats to the social committee for a nice town Christmas party. December 19th, we had a council and staff strategy session. And then moving back into Valley Waste, December 18th, the usual staff and committee reports. We had an opening presentation of our draft operating capital budget. Our chair and vice chair were re-elected. Back to Valley Waste on January 9th. Continued discussion and tweaking of a draft operating budget. Finalization of a solid waste resource bylaw that will come before us probably within 30 days through a CAO. Back to Valley Waste on January 15th for a regular meeting, staff and committee reports. There will be a get-together probably at the Old Orchard Inn within 60 days with the municipality of Chester, same as last year, with a presentation from them. And the operating capital budget was approved by the board. So now that will be presented privately to the mayors and CAOs for their input before we see it. I attended with my father the annual Kentville Police fundraiser breakfast at the fire hall to support the Salvation Army. And I also dropped into the Equilibrium Engineering Christmas Open House. As well, on your desk there is Valley Waste Communication Update for some light reading after council, as well as a report from Grace, our bylaw enforcement officer. So, and that's my report.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Are there any
Thank you.
questions for the councillor? Deputy Mayor.
Sort of for the councillor, but under the Valley Waste, among other, Kelly, our shared services, and I've asked this question probably a year ago, but do we periodically do internal studies to say this is what it costs us to be a part of this group, this is what it would cost us to be, from my take on a lot of this stuff, especially when the area of square kilometers is an issue. Kentville's about 17 square kilometers. I don't know what the county would be, but we pay a portion based on our population, not based on our square kilometers. So there are certain things that we may be helping to subsidize people who don't live in town. And not that I'm saying we should jump out of anything, but we should certainly be aware of we're paying way too much for a service that should be provided or could be provided at a lower cost to the taxpayer.
So I'm not aware of any. However, I do know, and Councillor Bowling can also jump in here, that Valley Waste is now recording tonnage. They're starting to calculate what each municipality is bringing, which they didn't do before, and so there's a whole analysis going on now. So once we know all of what our tonnage, our pickup is, they should be able to do a better review as to cost to each of the municipalities, and I know that they're collecting that data now. Probably gonna take a year to get proper data so that we can do a proper analysis, but I'm not aware of any in the past, but I do know that there is work being done now by Valley Waste to record all of that type of data. So we will have some eventually.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Deputy Mayor, you're up.
Thank you, Worship. January 9th, oh, sorry. November 25th, last council. January 13th, last CAC. I do not remember the last governance session. So January 9th, Kentville Joint Fire Services. We had budget discussions, and that should be coming to us sometime soon, I think. January the 17th, we had a police commission, which I will talk, actually I'll talk about it right now. So at our police commission, which I attached some of the stats, and if you've got questions on any of the stats or the financials, I will answer them as best I can. So some of the highlights are, I believe CAO Rice and Chief Giacchetto visited Valley Alarms just to give them notice that we'll be canceling and going with a different service, strictly for the reason that they are unable to provide a service that the commission and the council deems fairly necessary. We had discussions about the bylaws, which are attached, all the changes, and yeah, so what many of you don't know maybe is the police commission is governed by the Police Act and the police regulations, not by anything having to do with the town or a committee of the town. And January 20th, I went to my first REMAC. My first meeting, it was a review of of basically the things that Dan has come and presented to us over the last 6 or 8 months on emergency measures and that is my report. Thank you.
Are there any questions for the Deputy Mayor? All right, moving on. Councillor Maxwell, please.
Okay, I attended the last council meeting on November 25th and the last council advisory committee meeting on January 13th. I had a CAC meeting December the 9th. December the 10th, I attended Annapolis Valley Trails meeting, and I'll report on that in a minute. December 19th, strategic planning session. Very good session, well organized, and I thought very productive to look at the priorities for spring and fall. January 17th, Police Commission meeting, as Chair Gerard has reported on. January 21st, KCA PTA, and I'll report on that in a minute. 27th, met with our MP, Cody Blois. It was nice to meet our new MP and give him feedback on what we would like him to work on at the federal level for us, and he was wanting to know what some of our issues and concerns were. December 5th, I went to the 100 Women Who Care. It's a great group. You get such a wonderful feeling from giving to the wonderful charities that come out of that group. It's just, I find it very rewarding, and they're always looking for new members, so if anybody out there in Facebook land is considering it, I certainly recommend getting involved with that group. December 13th, well, December was Christmas parties all over the place. So there was the town Christmas party I attended, the fire department Christmas dinner, and the KBC holiday meet and greet, and all of them were just fantastic seasonal events to attend, and so I enjoyed them all. December 20th, I went to the Business Park coffee party and trophy presentation. And the first trophy for Christmas decorations in the business park was given out, and Capital Paper Products was this year's winner, and certainly a good bunch of people up there in the business park, and it was nice to see them getting into the Christmas spirit. December 20th, the police breakfast, again, I already talked about that. Annapolis Valley Trails on December 10th, meeting was held at COGS in Lawrencetown to view the new data system and mapping done for the trails. This system will keep the records for things such as bridge inspections, stop signs, and other signage on the trail, culverts that have been put in, and so on. COGS and the Trail Association are working with DNR, Department of National Resources, to take this system province-wide. So it's something that's going to go a long way. The Trail Association is hosting the Nova Scotia Trails Provincial Conference on October 21st, 22nd, 23rd at the Louis Millet Centre. This is a very large conference, and there will be many, many people attending. We are going to be asked to put in $2,000 to $3,000. That ask will come up, I believe, in the near future. So it's something to think about. The social evening for this conference will be held in Kentville at Maritime Cider Express on October 21st. And in our discussions, I just thought it was interesting to note that Alberta plows their trails. So they must be all paved out there, but they do plow them. The budget was up a bit. The coordinator's mileage is up due to storms and maintenance. Well, we all know about the storms, so not unusual that we would have some issues on the trails. New projects, the board voted to begin the move west of Allen's Creek for 5 to 8 kilometers. So the trail, instead of stopping at Annapolis, they're going to start the push further west. So that's going to begin. So that's a good thing. KCA PTA, the group is gearing up for spring activities. Primarily screenagers. The spring fling and cafeteria are on the agenda. Screenagers will be showing at Maritime Cider Express dining room in April and is open to the public. This is a film, and the film is on teenagers and screen time, and is valuable information for anyone dealing with young students, parents, any grandparents, anybody who's dealing with young people. There will be a panel discussion following the viewing of the film, and the panel will be made up of some educators and mental health representatives. So people will be able to ask questions of the panel, I believe, and get some information. PTA has been helping with financing the cafeteria, and it seems everyone is extremely pleased with the new healthy food choices that are being offered at KCA, and especially their salad bar and so on. An auction will be held in February and will help with financing the PEI trip, and I'm not sure of the grade levels. I think it might be 4 and 6 or something, I'm not sure. This event will be held at the Fire Hall on February 7th, and I believe the Rotary Club are helping with that, so it might be something that people would like to attend. The budget, this PTA group is awesome and continues to work hard raising funds to help with school-related activities. And I can't say enough about this group. Just the way they work, it's amazing. And any schools out there who could, get a PTA like this would be just miles ahead of everybody else. They're awesome. New projects, movie night on March 12th or 26th, depending on the storm days and things like that. Stay tuned. There'll be more information coming on that. And the Spring Fling, which we are invited to every year, which of course we will be invited to again, is on June 10th with a rain date on the 11th. And that's my report.
Are there any questions for the councillor? Councillor Pulsifer.
Thank you. Does the PTA meet once a month?
PTA meets
Once a month, yeah. I just wanted to make a comment that
Yeah.
how active they are.
Oh,
From
it's
your
amazing.
report, it sounds like, the KCA school is in very good hands.
Excellent hands.
Mhm.
And I told them that when the kids move on to middle school and high school, not to forget about them, because middle schools and high schools need PTA help as much, if not more, than elementary. So, yeah.
Yes, yeah, thanks.
All right, thank you. Moving on, Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Your Worship. Same as the rest of the council, last council meeting, last CAC, December 2nd, I attended Diversity Kings Committee where we reviewed the terms of reference. We discussed the upcoming International Women's Day event to be held March 8th, 2020. A note was sent out to Tony Inns, Minister of African Affairs, re the February 3rd event that's being held in the County of Kings Council Chambers. It's the proclamation and poster unveiling to which he will attend. December 11th was Investment Advisory Committee. We reviewed the reports and recommendations from our investment advisor, TD Wealth, and the Town of Kent Full Perpetual Reserve is just shy of $14 million. Our money-weighted net is a spectacular 13% against the balanced income CAD of 12.23%. So really, really well done on a great year. December 19th was a joint meeting with council, mayor, staff, and CAO. It was a strategic planning session, a fulsome meeting where staff and council essentially hashed out plans for the ensuing year, and notes have been distributed, and we had a meeting about that tonight. We're excited with the progress we've made as a council. We have a great, strong, and committed staff and a great town, and it continues to get better. January 6, 2020, another Diversity Kings Committee. We had a guest presentation, project coordinator from the Office to Advance Women Apprentices, and a reminder of the African Heritage launch on February the 3rd. So I invite you all to that. January the 16th, Regional Sewer. We had discussions around the upcoming budgets, updates around the sewer treatment plant, odor management work plan, capital updates, operation updates, updates from the Technical Working Committee, and the Town of Kentville continues to remain within guidelines, our BOD, which is our biochemical oxygen demand, and our TSS, total suspended solids overall. These metrics are reviewed monthly but are looked at as a per annum average, so we're in line there. Investment Advisory Committee again on January the 22nd. Reviewed the reports and recommendations again. We're now in excess of $14 million in our perpetual fund, and money weighted average is still 13% against the balanced income CAD of 11.54. An impressive year. We are well positioned to take our required dividends and interest in efforts to balance the operating budget, $460,000, I believe it is. We're revisiting our investment policy statement to ensure we are generating the appropriate returns within guidelines permitted by the Minister of Municipal Affairs. We may look to revise our investment policy statement once again during this council tenure to possibly increase our exposure to the equity markets. November the 27th, meeting with Cody Blois. He's our new MP, of course, and we spoke, he wanted to hear our concerns. We spoke of gas tax credits for the towns and municipalities. We discussed items such as equalization payments, the importance of agriculture, and Cody certainly wants to bring the concerns from municipalities to the forefront in the House as he is able to. December 10th was an open house gathering for MLA John Lohr. December 13th, Christmas party, town of Kentville. It was great. Kentville Volunteer Fire Department party, always a wonderful time to celebrate the men and women who put their lives on the line each and every day. Kentville Rotary cocktail party, December 16th, December 17th, KBC Christmas drop-in. I made it there just under the line and heard Zach, the executive director, sing some great Christmas music. So I just wanted to take a moment to congratulate KBC for the work they did in 2019 and the ongoing works in the 2020 year. We value you and applaud you for the work that you do. December 20th was a brunch hosted by Chris McRae, our TD Wealth investment advisor, and that is my report.
Are there any questions for the councillor? All right, thank you very much. Councillor Pulsifer, please.
Oh, thank you. Last council meeting attended, November 25th, last CAC meeting, December the 9th. I was away on vacation during the dates of this report, so I did miss a few of the different goings-ons that happened during that period. November the 20th, Kentville Water Commission, we met regarding operations and financial updates. November 21st, Annapolis Valley Regional Library Board. The meeting was held at the Berwick Council Chambers. This is a brief report. The libraries are very busy throughout the valley. We had discussion the Accessibility Act and how it will affect libraries, the advocacy of libraries, funding formulas, performance measures. As a note, from April to October of this 2019, Kentville Library had the highest circulation of materials in the valley at 53,547, which is up 6.62% from last year. November 26, Kings Point to Point, board meeting, details to follow. December 16th, another Kings Point to Point, was a strategic discussion meeting around proposed draft funding agreement with the County of Kings. December 19th, Kentville Strategic Plan Update, review and evaluation of our current plan. January the 7th, the Source Water Protection Advisory Committee. David Bell, our engineer, gave reports on wellfield and water. January the 15th, Kings Point to Point, budget meeting. November 22nd, the Torchlight event here in town, tree lighting and indoor activities at the rec center. November 23rd, Kentville Library, they held a Christmas artisan fair, which was really nice. December the 7th, Annapolis Valley Regional Library, their Christmas party for board members, that was held in Berwick. December 13th, Kings County Museum, I attended their Bright and Merry celebration at the museum. They were to have an ox wagon pulling event, but the oxen didn't make it. But anyway, the kids enjoyed themselves. They were pulled around by a truck. December 13th, Town of Kentville Christmas party upstairs at Patty's. December 14th, Kentville Volunteer Fire Department Christmas party at the Fire Hall. December 17th, the KBC Christmas meet and greet, which was held at the Half Acre. That was very nice. The Kings Point to Point Committee report in more detail. It was held on November 26. Meeting highlights. For the 2021 year, the board voted on the purchase of a Dodge ProMaster full-size van and a Dodge Grand Caravan, both fully accessible. This will be based on receiving provincial grants. The total drives originating in Kentville for October of this past year was 351, with the 2019 and 2020 year-to-date totals originating in Kentville at 3,351. Last year, the total was 2,723. So the past year, drives that originated in the town of Kentville were up by 628 compared to last year, 2018 and 19. New projects. Board meetings have been held to discuss a proposed draft funding agreement with the Municipality of Kings, looking at possible efficiencies in our operations. Policy changes. Poverty Reduction Government Investment Program has been funded by the Nova Scotia Department of Communities, Culture and Heritage. It allows those with third-party referrals, like food banks and service clubs, or those self-identifying as low income, to pay what they can to receive transportation for medical appointments, food bank or grocery stores, educational programming, and to help reduce social isolation. The funding is expected to last until March 31st of 2020 or until the grant is depleted. That's my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the councillor? All right, moving on. I guess it's my report. So on the 21st of November, I had a meeting with the the Valley Wren Board of Director Chair and the CEO, and we were looking at the proposed agreement from the province, and it will go to the LOC meeting in February. We also had a Valley Wren Board of Directors meeting on the 28th of November, and it was held in Middleton as part of the outreach. On the 29th of November, the Valley Wren Regional Marketing Meeting, they unveiled their new marketing plan, and it's the Annapolis Valley Have It All. It's really quite incredible, and we should see the first parts of it on the 11th of February at the AVCC dinner, and then by June we'll have the whole plan. And what we get with this is it's not only a marketing plan for use in tourism, but it's also for attraction of people to the valley and attraction for business. So it really has a three-pronged approach to it. On the 10th of December, I traveled to Truro with the CAO to have a briefing on the Mentoring Plus program, and it was a good opportunity to sit down with the members from both Truro and New Glasgow. On the 11th of December, the Nova Scotia Quality of Life Leadership Meeting, and we had a video conference, and they released the report on the quality of life for Nova Scotia, and we actually had a 16% return on the surveys that went out. You may have received one last June, July timeframe, which is really high in survey worlds, and so people across Canada were quite excited about the returns. I guess the big takeaways from this is that those Cape Bretoners seem to have the best quality of life, and they weren't afraid to share it. I have to also say that the Annapolis Valley came in at a nice tidy second on that one, and so the nice thing with this data is that it's very clean data, and it asks questions, a whole host of questions, and the nice thing about it is that people were talking about themselves and how they felt about their communities. So they weren't trying to say, you know, when you do a housing survey, a lot of times people try and show you how bad the housing is, or if you're doing a recreation survey, that, you know, the things that you want or don't use. And in this case, we have some really good data in there, which we'll be able to use ongoingly for decision making. On the 12th of December, I was in Halifax for the Municipal Finance Corporation board meeting, and again it was business of the day. On the 18th of December, sat down with the three other mayors from Kings County. We have made a commitment to meet on a monthly basis, and each we go someplace different each month, and basically our agenda is talking about what's going on in the area. On the 19th of December, Town of Kentville Strategic Plan updating. Our source water protection meeting, 13th of January, the Valley Wren Audit Committee met, and we were evaluating the RFP inputs for selection of an auditor over the next 3 years. On the 15th of January, the Kings County Mayors, we met in Canning for a lunch again to talk about regional collaboration. And the big topic at that one, of course, was the resident retention program. And I provided each of them with a package of the details, as most of them had not seen it. On the 20th of January, we had our Regional EMO Advisory Committee meeting, and of course we approved a new chair and committee composition, and as well we had an update from Dr. Strang on heat advisory. So we will be seeing something about that coming down quite soon. On the 20th of November, International Women's Day planning meeting for events in the Valley. On the 21st of November, I really had a great fundraiser here. The Nekek Music Department did a crock pot cook-off. So basically, each person who wanted to be in the contest paid, and they brought their dish. It had to be in a crock pot, and then it was judged by 3 judges, and then people came in. They paid $10, and they got a tray with 5 bowls on it, and then they could walk around and get 5 different items. So anyway, it was really a great fundraiser. It was held at our fire department, and I have to say the food was absolutely outstanding. 22nd November, Torchlight. 27th of November, MP Cody Blois. 28th of November, we completed our stakeholder outreach follow-up to the executive forum with a tour of 14 Wing Greenwood, and how as communities we can provide services and link in with what's going on in 14 Wing. On the 3rd of December, ABCC quarterly breakfast was held at the Berwick Lions Club, and it was an excellent conversation with the agriculture industry. There was a young farmer, a woman in farming, and technology in farming. And the guy who was talking technology in farming, he expressed to us that it costs him over $200,000 a year, a season, to pick weeds from his vegetable fields. That's what he basically pays. He was over in Germany, and they had this really cool piece of robotics that will go and pick your weeds, and you pay for it once, sort of thing. And anyway, the cost benefit of it is absolutely incredible. Now, I've also come to find out that that piece of technology was actually designed here in the Valley, and somehow or other it ended up in Germany to actually be put into production. So it just kind of tells you about the circles of the agriculture industry. Lunch at Aldershot on the 3rd of December. I have to say, if you get an invite up there for their Christmas dinner, lunch, you have to go, because they have the best chowder going. And not only was their chowder excellent, this year it was the desserts. They went over. I mean, these desserts were really works of art. It was absolutely incredible. On the 5th of December, you're going to see a lot of food happening in my life here. On the 5th of December, Berwick held a Christmas open house, and again, the food was just absolutely outstanding, and they had a lot of wonderful things to celebrate with what's going on in their power grid. On the 6th of December, I went to Shannock's, and guess what? They had food there as well, and it's called Shannock's Orchard Court. So as you can well imagine, all the food was centered around apples. On the 7th of December, I went to the Kings County Museum for the Yuletide tea, and I was back there on the 13th of December for their Bright and Merry celebration. Again, Christmas parties. You can see that, and lots of food. I mean, there was a couple days where I had to eat 3 times for brunch. So, it was just one of those things. 1st of January, I attended the Kentville Legion New Year's Day levee to bring greetings on behalf of the town. And then from there, I went to Wolfville for the town of Wolfville and Acadia University New Year's levee. And again, I brought greetings on behalf of the town of Kentville. Doctor recruitment visit, I had one on the 9th of January, one on the 15th of January, and both times they were doctors from the UK, and they were both looking to establish practices in the Annapolis Valley. The first one was a doctor and his wife, and the other couple were actually two doctors. And they were just totally amazed with the Annapolis Valley. The other thing is that I can't express how important the videos are that we have on our website, because to a one, every time I sit down with these doctors, they always talk about the videos on the Town of Kentville website. Source Water Protection Advisory Committee, we had our reports from our engineer, David Bell. Some of the things that kind of popped on that, one is the Kings County Public Works building, and it's going to be built in our source water protection area, so just keeping an eye on what's happening there, and the changes with the province for lead testing. Miscellaneous events, meetings with citizens, the community Christmas greetings with Eastlink and K-Rock, the annual Kinsman Connect Radiothon. All of these things are an absolute riot. One of the great events I got to attend was the Halifax Thunderbird lacrosse opening game and celebration. They had invited all the mayors from across Nova Scotia to be part of the opening ceremonies, and guess what? Only 4 of us showed up. But they still had lots of people, and it was really pretty incredible. And I have to say that lacrosse is, wow, what a game. Attended the Christmas Extravaganza craft show at NSCC by Advocates for Angels in Motion. The Rotary Club cocktail party, community services decorating contest. So I was asked to be a judge for the community services door decorating contest. The thing was I didn't ask them which
municipal election, as well as the assistant returning officer, and part of that, the election process, includes the recommendations that the permanent list of registered electors established and maintained by Elections Nova Scotia be used as our preliminary list of electors for the municipal units, and a deadline for developing the final list of it should be prepared by August 31st. So that's why this is coming forward now. And then set the dates for the advance polls. So the municipality of Kings County, Town of Wolfville, Town of Berwick, Town of Kentville, we're all trying to set our advance polls all on the same day. So the recommendation is attached, and that is that the permanent register of electors established and maintained by Elections Nova Scotia be used as the basis for the preliminary list of electors for the Town of Kentville in the October 17, 2020 municipal election. That the list of electors be prepared by August 31st, 2020, and that will be prepared by our returning officer. And the advance polls be held on Thursday, October the 8th, 2020, and Tuesday, October the 12th, 2020.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded that council approve that the permanent register of electors established and maintained by Elections Nova Scotia be used as the basis for preliminary list of electors for the Town of Kentville in the October 17, 2020 municipal election. That the list of electors be prepared on August 31st, 2020, and that the advance polls be held on Thursday, October 8th, 2020, and Tuesday, October 12th, 2020. Discussion? Councillor Maxwell.
Yes, CEO Rice. There was a lot of talk at after the last election of needing stronger protocols put in place to make sure that residents who are not on that list but come in and say they're residents are actually living in an actual residence, a residential residence. And there was a number of people that complained last election that people used an address that wasn't a residence, and a number of them had done that. And so I think we need to have some stronger protocols put in place, maybe similar to what was done for the recent federal election, to make sure that people are actually residents of the Town of Kentville and actually live in a residential facility.
So the protocol is if they're not on the electors list, then they must bring 2 pieces of identification that confirms that they are residents. And I certainly can stress that with the returning officer to make sure that that happens. But that's a protocol that was put in place a long time ago. Or a
Some other
sworn
counselors may
affidavit.
have more information on that as well, but.
Yeah, I haven't really come across a lot of issues in other places, but, and the other thing that some municipalities do, particularly smaller municipalities, you know, as you know, that the list is a public document, and so councillors, you know, will have a look at it and see if they see any names out of the ordinary. You know, every now and again, there'll be names there of some that have passed away or something like that, but, but normally if they're not on the list and they're coming in to be put on the list, then they need 2 pieces of identification that validates their address.
Okay, but this happened in the last election, and so
will
we
be
just want to
very
make sure
careful.
that doesn't happen
Yeah,
again.
we'll be very careful.
Yeah, thank you.
CEO, are we planning to use electronic voting again?
I believe so, yes.
So is there truly a necessity for advance polls when we actually don't hold advance polls because we can vote as soon as the first advance? Or do we still have to name them by protocol?
That's council's decision, I guess, but
Okay.
there are still people who want to put an X on that paper ballot and may not necessarily be available on election day. So it's not a large cost, it's actually very minimal
Okay.
cost.
Okay.
But and you know, mostly the seniors as well, you know, and we, so it's up to council
Okay.
if what your wishes are, but it's very minimal.
Okay, very good then. Are there any further questions? Are you ready for the question? The question is on adoption or recommendation that the permanent register of electors established and maintained by Elections Nova Scotia be used as the basis for the preliminary list of electors for the town of Kentville in the October 17, 2020 municipal election. That the list of electors be prepared on August 31st, 2020, and that advance polls be held on Thursday, October the 8th, 2020, and Tuesday, October 12th, 2020. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. And the motion is carried. Thank you. All right, we can entertain public comment now. The floor is open. Please state your name and address. Subject matter, you will have 10 minutes. All right, no takers. We'll move on to our in-camera session. The council has confidential legal business concerning the sanitary sewer, which must be conducted in a closed session. We require a motion to go into the closed session to discuss the agenda item. Who's that? Thanks. And our second? Second. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that council move into a closed session. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. And the time is 2017. And you can hit